I'm Logan, 32 years old, and I've spent my entire life in the shadow of my brother Nathan. Mom made it clear from day one that he was the golden child while I was just the family workhorse. Years of cooking, cleaning, and caring for Nathan while he got all the praise and attention. But nothing prepared me for what happened on my wedding day when my own mother chose a vacation with my brother over witnessing my marriage. What my grandparents later revealed would change everything I thought I knew about my family. Before I tell you how my own mother abandoned me on my wedding day, let me know where you're watching from, and hit that like and subscribe button if you've ever felt like the forgotten child in your family. My earliest memories of feeling different started around age 5. Most kids that age don't notice subtle family dynamics, but when the treatment is so blatantly different, even a kindergartner can tell something isn't right. I remember my 6th birthday party vividly, not because it was special, but because of how it contrasted with Nathan's just 2 months earlier. For Nathan's birthday, Mom transformed our backyard into a miniature carnival. She spent weeks planning games, ordered a custom cake shaped like his favorite superhero, and invited what felt like his entire school. She took the day off work to ensure everything was perfect. The day was filled with laughter presents and Mom beaming with pride as she photographed every moment. When my birthday rolled around, I got a store-bought cake and a small gathering with just our immediate family. Mom said she was too tired from work to do anything elaborate. Dad gave me an extra hug that day, whispering he was sorry he couldn't convince her to do more. I didn't understand then why my brother deserved a carnival while I got the equivalent of a regular dinner with cake. School achievements followed the same pattern. Nathan struggled with reading early on, and Mom spent hours each night helping him improve. When he finally read a full book independently, she threw a celebration dinner and called our grandparents to brag about his accomplishment. Meanwhile, when I skipped a grade in math, she merely nodded and said, "That's nice, Logan. Can you set the table for dinner?" Mom never missed a single one of Nathan's soccer games. Rain or shine, she was there with her camera cheering from the sidelines. But my debate competitions. She attended exactly 2 throughout my entire middle and high school career, and during both she spent most of the time checking her phone for updates from Nathan's coach. Christmas mornings were another painful reminder of where I stood. Nathan's side of the tree overflowed with packages, while mine held a few practical items. One year when I was 8, I received new school clothes and books while Nathan got the expensive gaming system he'd been asking for. When I asked Dad why Santa brought Nathan more presents, he awkwardly explained that Santa knows different kids need different things. I learned early that what I needed was to expect less. Dad worked 60-hour weeks as a construction manager, leaving before dawn and returning after dinner most days. He noticed the imbalance but rarely challenged Mom about it. The few times I overheard him questioning the difference in treatment, Mom would shut him down quickly. "You don't understand what Nathan needs. He's more sensitive. Logan is self-sufficient." Dad would sigh and retreat, choosing peace over confrontation. The first major incident that crystallized this dynamic in my mind happened when I was 10. After months of work, I qualified for the regional science competition with my project on renewable energy. The event fell on a Saturday morning, and I had been talking about it for weeks. Dad promised to take time off work to attend. The night before, Nathan came home announcing he had an unscheduled soccer practice the next morning. Without hesitation, Mom declared she would take him. I reminded her about my science competition, and she looked annoyed. "Logan, you know how important soccer is for Nathan's college applications. Your dad will go to your thing." But Dad has to work. He rescheduled his shift to come, but they called, and he has to go in. "Well, you're smart enough to handle it yourself. Nathan needs support with his athletics." I went to that competition alone, taking the bus across town. My project won first place. When I came home, trophy in hand, Mom and Nathan weren't there. Dad arrived later that evening, exhausted but wanting to see my award. He took me for ice cream and apologized repeatedly for missing it. I told him it was okay, but we both knew it wasn't. Through all this, my grandmother Jean was my sanctuary. Mom's mother saw the disparity in treatment and tried to compensate in small ways. She never missed my events, brought me special treats just because, and made sure I knew I was valued. "You're an extraordinary boy, Logan," she would tell me. "Some people just can't see the gifts right in front of them." I developed coping mechanisms early. Books became my escape, and I learned to solve problems independently, since asking for help usually resulted in being told to figure it out myself. I became fiercely self-reliant, taking pride in needing nothing from the mother who offered little anyway. The confusion was the hardest part. I constantly questioned what I had done wrong, why I wasn't lovable enough. I tried being more like Nathan, then tried differentiating myself completely. Nothing changed her behavior. By 12, I stopped trying to win her approval and instead focused on building a life that would eventually allow me to escape. Despite everything, I excelled academically. If I couldn't have my mother's attention through normal channels, perhaps extraordinary achievement would do it. This determination would shape my approach to schoolwork and relationships for years to come. By 13, the division of labor in our household had become absurd. While Nathan focused on being a teenager and pursuing his mediocre athletic career, I had essentially become a third parent. My daily routine started at 5:30 each morning, when I would prepare breakfast for everyone, pack lunches, and ensure Nathan had everything ready for school and his after-school activities. "Logan, did you wash Nathan's uniform for today's game?" became Mom's regular morning greeting, not "good morning" or "how did you sleep?" If I ever forgot a task related to Nathan's needs, the disapproval was swift and cutting. Yet Nathan, forgetting his own responsibilities, was met with understanding and excuses. "He has so much pressure with sports and school," Mom would explain, as if I somehow existed in a pressure-free vacuum despite taking all advanced placement courses and managing half the household. The chore distribution defied any sense of fairness. My weekly responsibilities included all laundry, kitchen cleanup after dinner, lawn maintenance, grocery shopping with Mom, and helping Nathan with his homework. Nathan's only regular chore was taking out the trash, which he frequently forgot, leaving me to handle it anyway. One particular incident stands out in my memory. When I was 15, I developed a severe case of the flu with a fever of 103 degrees. Instead of being allowed to rest, Mom insisted I still needed to help Nathan prepare for his history exam the next day. "I know you feel bad, but Nathan really needs to pass this test," she said, placing a box of tissues and a bottle of fever reducer next to me at the kitchen table. I spent 3 hours quizzing a disinterested Nathan while fighting chills and nausea. The next day, while I remained sick in bed, Mom took Nathan out for ice cream to celebrate how hard he studied. Despite being only 2 years older than Nathan, I became his de facto caretaker. I taught him to drive, helped him navigate his first breakup, and even covered for him when he broke curfew. The irony was that while Mom claimed Nathan needed more support because he was sensitive, I was the one he came to with his real problems, knowing I would actually help rather than simply coddle him. Thanksgiving during my junior year perfectly encapsulated our family dynamic. I spent 2 days preparing the entire meal while Mom supervised, pointing out every minor flaw in my execution. When the family gathered to eat, she proudly announced Nathan helped so much with the meal this year. His contribution, setting the table the wrong way, which I quietly fixed when no one was looking. During the meal, the conversation centered entirely around Nathan's recent selection as team captain for his high school soccer team. My news that I had been named a National Merit Scholar finalist warranted a brief, "That's nice, dear," before Mom steered the conversation back to Nathan's accomplishments. Despite the lack of support at home, I threw myself into academics. I joined every academic club available, partly for college applications, but mostly to have legitimate reasons to stay away from home. I maintained a perfect 4.0 GPA while taking the most challenging courses offered. My teachers became the supportive adults I lacked at home, writing glowing recommendation letters and encouraging me to apply to top universities. The college application process highlighted the disparities once again. I researched schools, wrote essays, completed financial aid forms, and managed application deadlines entirely on my own. Meanwhile, Mom took days off work to visit colleges with Nathan, even though he was still a sophomore and not yet applying. When acceptance letters began arriving spring of my senior year, I experienced a mixture of triumph and vindication. I received a full academic scholarship to Cornell University, over 2,000 miles from home. The distance was a significant part of the appeal. Mom's reaction to my scholarship news was telling: "Cornell is so far away. You know, State University has a good program too, and Nathan could join you there in 2 years." The suggestion that I should base my college decision on proximity to Nathan sparked our first serious confrontation about her favoritism. Why would I choose a school based on Nathan? I asked. This is my future, not his. Family should stick together, she replied. Nathan will need guidance in college. He's had 16 years of guidance. Maybe it's time he learned to handle things himself like I've had to do. Her face hardened. That's just selfish, Logan. You've always been jealous of the special attention Nathan needs. Special attention. Is that what we're calling blatant favoritism now? You see, this is exactly why Nathan needs more support. He doesn't lash out with anger and jealousy like you do. This circular logic was impossible to combat. Any protest about unfair treatment was transformed into evidence of why the unfair treatment was necessary. Classic gaslighting, though I didn't have the terminology for it then. The argument ended with Mom storming off and avoiding me for days afterward. Dad tried to mediate, suggesting that Mom was just worried about me being so far from home, but we both knew the real issue. That spring, I made my decision. Cornell had offered me everything I wanted. Academic excellence, financial support, and most importantly, distance from the family dynamic that had diminished me for years. When I mailed my acceptance, I felt the first real sense of freedom I'd ever known. Arriving at Cornell was like stepping into another dimension. Suddenly, I existed in a world where no one compared me to Nathan, where my achievements were valued on their own merit, and where I could define myself outside the role of family caretaker and second-best son. The initial adjustment was jarring. I kept waiting for someone to tell me what chores needed doing or how I had disappointed them. When my roommate thanked me for simple courtesies like keeping our shared space tidy, I hardly knew how to respond. Positive reinforcement was an alien concept. Gradually, I discovered what genuine friendships felt like. My study group in Introduction to Engineering became my first real peer circle. Thomas, Aiden, and Jasmine accepted me without reservation, valued my input, and actually wanted to spend time with me. When I tentatively shared some stories about my home life, their shocked reactions confirmed what I had suspected for years: my family situation wasn't normal. "Dude, that's not okay," Thomas said after I mentioned casually that I had never had a birthday party. "Parents aren't supposed to play favorites like that." This external validation was powerful. For years I had internalized the idea that I somehow deserved less attention and care. Hearing others express outrage on my behalf began a slow process of recalibrating my sense of self-worth. By sophomore year, I had established a new identity as a top engineering student with leadership roles in the Renewable Energy Club and Habitat for Humanity. I worked part-time at the campus library, savoring the financial independence it provided. During fall semester, I met Madison in my technical writing course. She was a civil engineering major with a quick wit and infectious laugh. Our first conversation lasted 3 hours, moving from discussing our term project to sharing life stories over coffee. When she suggested meeting again the next day, I experienced an unfamiliar feeling, being actively chosen by someone who had multiple options. Our relationship developed naturally, built on mutual respect and shared interests. Madison came from a tight-knit family, where affection was freely given, and each child was celebrated for their unique strengths. The first time I visited her family home during spring break, I observed her parents' equitable treatment of Madison and her 2 sisters with fascination and a touch of envy. "Is it always like this?" I asked her, after watching her parents enthusiastically engage with each daughter's update at dinner. Like what Madison looked confused. "Everyone gets equal time to talk. Your parents seem interested in everything all of you are doing." Her expression shifted to concern. "Logan, that's just normal family interaction." That visit became a window into what healthy family dynamics could look like, making the contrast with my own upbringing even starker. Meanwhile, trouble was brewing at home. Without me there to manage household logistics and support, Nathan cracks were appearing in the family system. Mom called increasingly often, her messages oscillating between guilt trips and thinly veiled demands. "Nathan is really struggling with his English class," she reported during my junior year. "Could you come home this weekend to help him? It's only a 4-hour drive each way." When I explained that I had midterms and couldn't leave campus, her disappointment was palpable. "I thought family would be more important to you than tests. Nathan really needs you." "What about what I needed?" The question remained unasked, but hung in my mind constantly. Nathan's first semester at State University was apparently going poorly. Without me to organize his schedule, proofread his papers, and manage his responsibilities, he was floundering. This should have been a growth opportunity for him, but instead Mom enabled his continued dependence by hiring tutors, calling his professors, and even driving 2 hours to his campus twice weekly to help him get organized. For the first time, I established firm boundaries around my involvement. I can video chat with him for 30 minutes on Sunday nights to check in, but I can't be responsible for his college experience. I told Mom during a particularly tense phone call. "You've always been so selfish," she replied, "after everything we've done for you." The irony of this statement was so profound I actually laughed, which only angered her further. By senior year, I had reduced contact with Mom to brief weekly calls and occasional holiday visits. Dad and I maintained a better relationship through separate phone conversations where he expressed pride in my accomplishments and rarely mentioned the continuing drama with Nathan. Graduation day arrived in May, bringing a mix of triumph and tension. I would be receiving my degree with honors, having finished in the top 5% of my class. Madison's entire family drove 8 hours to attend, bringing flowers, gifts, and their genuine enthusiasm. From my family, only Dad and Grandmother Jean made the trip. Mom had texted 3 days before Nathan twisted his ankle at intramurals. "Nothing serious, but he needs me there. Your father will video everything for me to see later." I pretended this didn't hurt while feeling the familiar sting of being secondary. Madison witnessed this exchange and the brief awkward call with Mom the night before graduation. "I cannot believe she's missing your college graduation over a twisted ankle," Madison fumed afterward. "That's beyond ridiculous." Hearing someone else name the absurdity of the situation was validating. For so long I had accepted Mom's excuses and priorities as normal. Madison's outrage reflected how I should have been allowed to feel all along. The graduation ceremony itself was beautiful. Receiving my diploma with Dad and Grandmother cheering from the stands felt momentous. We took dozens of photos and Dad kept saying, "I'm so incredibly proud of you, son." Later at dinner with both families, Madison's parents treated me like another son, asking thoughtful questions about my plans and offering genuine congratulations. The contrast between their warmth and my mother's absence spoke volumes. "Your mother really missed something special today," Madison's father said kindly. "But we're honored we could be here to see it." That evening, as Madison and I walked across campus one last time as students, she took my hand and said words that shifted something fundamental inside me. "Logan, I need you to know something. The way your mother treats you isn't because you lack value. It's because she can't see your worth. That's her limitation, not yours." In that moment, for perhaps the first time, I truly believed it. After graduation, Madison and I both accepted positions at an engineering firm in Seattle, 3,000 miles from my hometown and a comfortable distance from her family in Chicago. The physical separation from my family accelerated my emotional independence. My career took off quickly. My analytical skills and work ethic, forged through years of self-reliance, served me well in the professional world. Within 2 years, I was leading projects and receiving recognition that still felt foreign but increasingly deserved. Madison and I found an apartment with a view of Puget Sound, adopted a rescue dog named Cooper, and built a life centered around our careers, friendships, and outdoor adventures. For the first time, I experienced what it felt like to be the architect of my own happiness rather than an accessory to someone else's. Our relationship deepened as we navigated adult life together. Madison never tried to fix my family issues but offered unwavering support as I processed them. Through her, I learned that love shouldn't be conditional or unevenly distributed. Communication with my family settled into a predictable pattern. Dad called weekly for genuine check-ins. Grandmother Jean sent handwritten letters full of encouragement. Mom called sporadically, conversations centered around Nathan's latest achievements or challenges. Nathan had graduated from State University with average grades and moved back home temporarily while figuring out his next steps. That temporary arrangement stretched into years as he drifted between entry-level jobs, never staying anywhere long enough to build a career. Despite the distance, Mom found ways to maintain the established dynamic. When I received a significant promotion to senior project manager, her response was tepid. Congratulations followed immediately by "Nathan is thinking about going back for his master's degree. Isn't that wonderful?" I had learned to expect this pattern. and no longer sought her approval, but the predictability didn't eliminate the sting entirely. After 3 years in Seattle on a hiking trip to Mount Rainier, I proposed to Madison. When she said yes, I experienced joy unmarred by family complications. We called her parents first, who responded with genuine delight, and then mine. Dad was genuinely happy. "I couldn't imagine a better partner for you, son." Mom's response set the tone for what would follow. "That's nice, Logan. Have you thought about whether Nathan will be your best man?" Madison and I wanted a relatively small wedding in Seattle, where most of our friends lived. From the moment we announced our engagement, Mom began a campaign to reshape our plans according to her preferences. "You really should have the wedding back home," she insisted during our first planning conversation. "It would be much easier for everyone." "By everyone you mean you and Nathan," Madison pointed out not unkindly. Mom ignored this. "And a fall wedding would be better than summer. Nathan has a work conference in June." The pattern continued for months. Every decision from venue to menu became a battleground, with Mom advocating for Nathan's convenience above all other considerations, including ours. When we selected a date in June, she called 3 times to suggest alternatives that would better accommodate Nathan's schedule. The engagement dinner during our holiday visit home became a showcase of Mom's priorities. She invited extended family and several of Nathan's friends, but only one of my childhood acquaintances. Throughout the evening, she steered conversations toward Nathan's job search and away from our wedding plans. The final straw came when she interrupted Madison's father's toast to announce that Nathan had just received a callback for a promising interview. The room fell awkwardly silent before Madison's mother salvaged the moment with gracious redirection. In the car afterward, Madison's parents expressed concern. "Is it always like this?" her father asked gently. "Pretty much my whole life," I admitted. "Well, we want you to know that we're thrilled about this wedding, even if others are distracted," her mother said, squeezing my shoulder from the back seat. As wedding preparations continued, so did Mom's attempts to influence them. She sent daily texts with suggestions that invariably centered around making things more convenient for Nathan or more impressive to her friends. When we chose my college friend Thomas as best man, Mom called immediately. "Nathan is very hurt." "You didn't ask him," she said accusingly. "Nathan and I haven't been close in years, Mom. Thomas has been my best friend since freshman year. But he's your brother. Family should come first." The irony of her suddenly invoking family loyalty wasn't lost on me. Madison and I established clear boundaries, creating a united front against the constant pressure. We limited wedding planning calls to once weekly, made decisions independently, and responded to manipulation attempts with calm but firm refusals. This approach worked until the final weeks before the wedding. Mom had reluctantly agreed to attend, but continued pushing for last-minute changes. Then 4 weeks before the ceremony, she called with news that felt like a physical blow. "Logan, I wanted to let you know that Nathan and I won't be able to attend the wedding after all," she said, her tone casual, as if canceling lunch plans. An amazing opportunity came up for a mother-son Caribbean cruise that same week. It was a limited-time offer we couldn't pass up. The world seemed to stop. Despite years of disappointments, I never truly believed she would miss my wedding day. "You're choosing a vacation over my wedding?" I asked, my voice hollow. "Don't be dramatic. We didn't choose anything. This opportunity just happened to fall on the same dates, and you know how much Nathan has been wanting to travel after his job disappointment. We set this date 8 months ago, Mom." "Well, you chose a date that was already difficult for Nathan, and now this came up. I'm sure you'll have lovely pictures we can see afterward." After hanging up, I sat motionless for nearly an hour until Madison came home. When I told her, her initial shock gave way to quiet fury. "This is beyond unacceptable," she said, holding me as reality sank in. "I'm so sorry, Logan." That night marked a turning point. The pain was acute, but beneath it lay a strange sense of clarity. This final rejection confirmed what I had always known, but tried to deny in Mom's hierarchy of love. I would always be secondary. June 12th dawned clear and perfect in Seattle. From our hotel suite overlooking the bay, the Olympic Mountains stood crisp against the horizon, promising the outdoor ceremony we had hoped for. Despite the beauty, I woke with a knot of complex emotions, joy about marrying Madison mixed with the undeniable ache of my mother's deliberate absence. Madison's hotel room bustled with activity, her sisters helping with hair and makeup, her mother adjusting the veil, laughter and happy tears flowing freely. In contrast, my preparation was quieter. Thomas arrived early bringing coffee and steady friendship. "How are you holding up?" he asked, straightening my tie. "Focusing on what I have today, not what's missing." I replied the mantra I'd been repeating since Mom's announcement. Dad arrived looking uncomfortable in his new suit, but determined to be fully present. He hugged me fiercely, whispering, "I'm proud of you, son, today and always." Grandmother Jean, now 83, came next, elegant in blue silk. She pressed something into my hand, a vintage pocket watch. "This was your grandfather's," she said. "A man who knew your worth from the day you were born." The gesture nearly broke my composure, this tangible connection to family heritage I hadn't expected to receive. As ceremony time approached, I walked to the venue garden where rows of white chairs faced an arch overlooking the water. My eyes couldn't help scanning the seating, noting the empty spaces in the front row where Mom and Nathan should have been. Dad noticed my gaze and squeezed my shoulder. "Let's focus on who chose to be here," he said gently. The ceremony itself became a blur of emotion. Madison appeared at the garden entrance, radiant in white, and everything else faded. Her smile as she walked toward me contained all the genuine love and appreciation I had spent years believing I didn't deserve. Our vows written personally spoke of building the family we chose, rather than the one we were born into. We promised to see each other fully, to celebrate each other's triumphs, and to create a home where everyone felt valued. The words weren't specifically aimed at my experience, but their meaning resonated deeply given what had brought us to this moment. After the pronouncement and first kiss, we turned to face our guests. The applause and cheers washed over us like a cleansing wave. These people had chosen to witness our commitment, to celebrate our joy, to be present for a pivotal moment. Their presence mattered more than any absence. The reception began with cocktails on the terrace. Dad approached with his phone, looking uncomfortable. "Your mother sent a text," he said hesitantly. "She wanted me to show you." The screen displayed a selfie of Mom and Nathan on a cruise ship deck, tropical drinks in hand. The message read, "Having a wonderful time. Tell Logan congratulations from us." The casual dismissal of my wedding, as something that warranted no more than an afterthought text, stung afresh. Madison, seeing my expression, gently took the phone and handed it back to Dad. "Today is about joy," she reminded me. "Let's keep it that way." Dad's toast during dinner started awkwardly. He cleared his throat several times before finding his footing. "Logan has always been the steady one, the responsible one," he began. "For too long, I allowed that strength to be taken for granted, rather than celebrated. Today, I want to celebrate it properly." His voice cracked slightly. "Madison, you've chosen an extraordinary man who understands that love should lift people up, not diminish them. I wish you both the happiness you so richly deserve." The simplicity and sincerity of his words meant everything. Grandmother Jean followed with her own toast, her voice frail but determined. "I've watched Logan overcome challenges with grace his entire life," she said. "Madison, you recognize the exceptional person some were too blind to see. May you both continue to see each other clearly through all the years ahead." The evening progressed with dancing, cake cutting, and traditions that felt both universal and uniquely ours. Friends from college and work surrounded us with genuine celebration. Madison's family embraced me as one of their own. For hours I was fully present in the joy of the moment. The rupture came unexpectedly during a quiet moment. While Madison danced with her father, I stepped onto the terrace for air and checked my phone. A notification showed that Mom had posted additional cruise photos, tagging Nathan with the caption, "Best mother-son trip ever, making memories that will last a lifetime." The timing couldn't have been more pointed if she had planned it specifically to coincide with my wedding reception. Perhaps she had. Madison found me there, silent tears streaming down my face. Without words, she wrapped her arms around me, providing the safe harbor she had always been. I knew she didn't love me the same way I whispered, but I never thought she'd deliberately choose to hurt me on today, of all days. I know, Madison said. And it's okay to feel this pain even today. But remember, everyone inside that room chose you. I choose you. Every day. We stayed there until I could compose myself. Madison's unconditional support, a stark contrast to the conditional love I'd grown up with. Returning to the reception, Madison's sister Emily intercepted us, concern evident in her expression. Everything okay? Madison nodded slightly, and Emily immediately understood, sweeping us back into the celebration with determined cheerfulness. As the night continued, friends and family created a protective circle of joy around us. Thomas organized impromptu toasts from college friends. Madison's cousins pulled us into enthusiastic dance circles. Her parents made a point of telling me repeatedly how happy they were to welcome me to their family. The wedding video Madison had envisioned would include messages from both our families. Mom and Nathan's absence left a gap we filled with extra clips from friends and Madison's relatives. The videographer, sensing the situation, suggested creative alternatives that would make the absence less noticeable in the final product. By the evening's end, as we said goodbye to our guests, I realized something important. While the pain of rejection remained, it had not defined the day. Our wedding had been filled with authentic love and celebration. We had created something beautiful, despite not because of my family background. In our hotel suite that night, exhausted but content, Madison and I reflected on the day. "Are you okay?" she asked, her concern genuine. "Not entirely," I admitted. "But I will be. Today showed me that while I can't change where I came from, I can absolutely determine where I'm going and who goes with me." We fell asleep holding each other, the first night of our married life marked by both a profound loss and an equally profound gain. My mother had made her final choice, and in doing so had paradoxically freed me to fully embrace mine. Returning from our honeymoon in Hawaii 2 weeks later, we faced the inevitable fallout from Mom's wedding absence. Social media had made the situation painfully public, with relatives and hometown acquaintances sending awkward messages expressing confusion about why my mother had been posting cruise photos during my wedding. Dad called the day after we returned, his discomfort evident even through the phone. "Your mother and Nathan got back yesterday," he said. "She wanted me to tell you they brought you a souvenir." The absurdity of offering a trinket as compensation for missing my wedding was so on brand that I couldn't even muster anger, just exhausted resignation. "Dad, I need some time before I talk to Mom again," I said. His sigh carried years of similar conversations. "I understand. For what it's worth." I told her she made a terrible mistake. "We've been arguing about it since they got back." This small stand represented progress for Dad, who had spent decades avoiding confrontation with Mom. I thanked him for understanding and changed the subject to his work project, safer territory for us both. Nathan texted a few days later as if nothing unusual had happened. "Hey bro, how was the wedding? Mom and I had an awesome time in the Bahamas. Got you guys a cool shell thing." His obliviousness felt almost impressive in its completeness. Whether he genuinely didn't understand the significance of choosing a vacation over his brother's wedding, or had so thoroughly absorbed Mom's narrative that he saw nothing wrong with it, the result was the same. I left the message unanswered. Madison suggested I consider therapy to process the wedding situation and the broader family patterns. "Not because there's anything wrong with you," she clarified, "but because you deserve support unpacking all this." I found a therapist specializing in family trauma, Dr. Abrams, whose gentle insights helped me contextualize my experiences. During one particularly illuminating session, she introduced the concept of the golden child, scapegoat dynamic in dysfunctional families. "What you're describing is actually a recognized pattern," she explained. "It's not about you or your brother as individuals, but about your mother's psychological needs being played out through her children." This framework began helping me understand that Mom's treatment wasn't my fault, nor was it something I could have changed through different behavior. The liberation in this realization was profound. 3 weeks after our return, Grandmother Jean called with an unusual request. "Logan, your grandfather and I would like to have dinner with you and Madison, just the 4 of us at our house. There's something important we need to discuss." The seriousness in her normally cheerful voice caught my attention immediately. "Is everything okay, Grandma? Are you both healthy?" "We're fine, dear. This is about something else entirely, something we should have told you long ago. The cryptic response left me unsettled, but I trusted my grandmother implicitly. We arranged dinner for the following Saturday at their home 30 minutes outside Seattle, where they had relocated 5 years earlier to be near their youngest daughter, my Aunt Patricia. Grandmother Jean had prepared her famous pot roast, but the usual warm welcome felt underlaid with tension. Grandfather Robert, normally jovial, seemed solemn. We made small talk through the main course, but as grandmother served apple pie, she set down her fork and exchanged a significant look with grandfather. "Logan, there's something you need to know about your family," she began. "Something that may help explain some of the dynamics you've experienced your whole life." Grandfather picked up the thread. "We've debated for years whether to tell you this. Your wedding situation finally convinced us you deserve the truth." My stomach tightened with apprehension. Madison reached for my hand under the table. "Nathan isn't your father's biological son," grandmother said simply. "He's your mother's child from a relationship she had before she met your father." The world seemed to tilt sideways. This information contradicted everything I had understood about our family structure. "But Nathan is 2 years younger than me," I said, confused. "And we've always celebrated his birthday as coming after mine." Grandmother nodded sadly. "Nathan was born when your mother was 19 before she met your father. She initially left him with her cousin to raise while she went to college. When she married your father a year later and became pregnant with you, they decided to bring Nathan into the household when he was 3, after you were born. They adjusted his age and birthday to create the narrative that you were both your father's children born in the expected order," grandfather added. "Your father legally adopted Nathan and has always treated him as his own." My mind raced, reconstructing my childhood through this new lens. But why would that make her favor him so obviously? Grandmother hesitated, then continued gently. "There's more to it, dear. You are not your mother's biological child. Your father was briefly married before he met your mother. His first wife became pregnant, but they divorced before you were born. When your father met your mother, you were just a few months old." The revelation landed like a physical blow. "So I'm not biologically related to Mom at all?" "No, sweetheart. Your mother agreed to raise you when she married your father, but she never connected with you the way she did with Nathan. Your father insisted on treating both boys equally, but your mother always saw Nathan as her real child, and you as her obligation." Tears filled grandmother's eyes. "We should have told you sooner, or intervened more strongly. We watched her favor Nathan year after year, but your father begged us not to disrupt the family narrative. He feared it would hurt you more to know." Grandfather spoke up, his voice rough with emotion. "Your father loves you completely, Logan. Never doubt that. He just made a terrible mistake thinking that maintaining the story was protecting you." Madison, who had been listening silently, asked the question. I couldn't formulate, does Logan's mother resent him because he's a reminder of her husband's previous relationship? Grandmother nodded sadly. "We believe so. She's never admitted it directly, but the pattern has been clear since Logan was a baby. She could never see past the circumstance of his birth to love the wonderful boy and man he became." The room fell silent as I processed this revelation. My entire identity seemed suddenly uncertain. The family narrative I had accepted, despite its painful implications about my worth, had been a fabrication. "Who is my biological mother?" I finally asked. "Her name was Elizabeth Carter," grandfather said. "She moved to Australia after the divorce and started a new family there. Your father has some information about her, but they haven't had contact since the divorce was finalized." The magnitude of these revelations overwhelmed me. I excused myself to step outside, needing air and space. Madison followed after giving me a few minutes alone. "I don't even know who I am anymore," I told her, as we sat on my grandparents' porch swing. "My whole life has been built on lies." "You're the same person you were an hour ago," Madison said firmly. "The same man I fell in love with and married. This information changes your understanding of your past, but it doesn't change you." Her certainty anchored me, as the ground seemed to shift beneath my feet. Back inside, my grandparents provided answers to my many questions. They had photos of my biological mother they had secretly kept, which they now gave to me. They explained that Dad had always intended to tell me the truth when I was older, But the right time never seemed to come, and the deception became more difficult to unravel as years passed. Your father has carried this guilt for years, grandmother explained. He believed he was doing what was best for everyone, but watching your mother's treatment of you has been his greatest regret. Before leaving, I asked one final question. Does Nathan know any of this? No, grandfather replied. As far as we know, he still believes the family story everyone was told. The drive home passed in thoughtful silence, Madison respecting my need to process. This revelation explained so much Mom's emotional distance, her inability to bond with me, her excessive attachment to Nathan. Understanding the reason didn't erase decades of pain, but it provided context that had always been missing. The next day I called Dad and asked him to meet alone. In a quiet corner of a waterfront park, I confronted him with what I now knew. Why didn't you ever tell me? I asked, my voice breaking despite my determination to stay composed. Dad's face crumpled, years of concealed guilt surfacing at once. I thought I was protecting you, he said through tears. By the time I realized how Diana was treating you differently, the story had been in place for years. I feared that learning you weren't biologically hers would make you feel even more rejected. Instead, I spent my entire childhood believing I was fundamentally unlovable, I said. That somehow Nathan deserved love and I didn't. That was never true, Dad insisted, anguish clear in his voice. You were always worthy of love. Diana's inability to see that is her greatest failure, not yours. I failed you too by not standing up to her more strongly, by not ensuring you felt equally valued. His regret seemed genuine, his pain palpable. I've always been proud to be your father, Logan. From the moment I first held you, you were my son in every way that matters. Biology is the least important part of being a parent. We talked for hours, Dad filling in gaps in my history. He showed me additional photos of my biological mother and offered to help if I ever wanted to contact her. He explained how the decision to create a false narrative about our family had seemed the simplest solution when he and Mom married, a choice made by young people not fully considering the long-term implications. I know this doesn't excuse anything, he said, as we parted. But I hope someday you can forgive me for not being braver on your behalf. I didn't have an answer for him yet. The revelation had triggered an identity crisis that would take time to resolve. Who was I, if not the person I had believed myself to be for 32 years? What parts of my personality had been shaped by this hidden truth? As Madison held me that night while I processed these questions, one certainty emerged. Understanding the context of my mother's rejection didn't diminish its impact, but it did release me from the lifetime of questioning what I had done wrong. The answer finally was nothing. Nothing at all. The weeks following my grandparents' revelation passed in a blur of emotional processing. I took time off work using vacation days, accumulated from years of rarely taking breaks. Madison created space for me to wrestle with my new reality while ensuring I never felt alone in the process. My identity, so carefully constructed through years of seeking validation through achievement, required complete reassessment. Who was I outside the narrative of being the less loved son? What parts of me existed independently from that struggle? Dr. Abrams, my therapist, provided invaluable guidance through this terrain. Identity disruption is common when family secrets are revealed, she explained. You're experiencing a normal reaction to an abnormal situation. We worked through exercises to help separate my inherent traits from those developed as coping mechanisms. My analytical nature, love of problem solving, and capacity for deep empathy emerged as core attributes, while my perfectionism, difficulty accepting help, and tendency to overachieve were adaptations to my childhood circumstances. Madison witnessed this deconstruction and rebuilding process with steadfast support. I'm seeing more of you, not less, she observed one evening. It's like watching someone step out from behind a shield they didn't even know they were carrying. After a month of intensive self-examination, I felt ready to confront Mom with what I now knew. The decision wasn't about seeking reconciliation, but about standing in my truth and refusing to participate further in the family fiction. I called and requested a meeting without Nathan or Dad present. She seemed surprised, but agreed, suggesting lunch at her favorite restaurant. I countered with a private meeting at my grandparents' house where I felt safer emotionally. Reluctantly, she accepted. Grandmother Jean prepared the space, and then made herself scarce, understanding that her presence might complicate an already difficult conversation. When Mom arrived, her body language broadcast defensiveness before any words were exchanged. "I know the truth about our family," I stated simply once we were seated in the living room. "I know Nathan is your biological son from before you met Dad. And I'm Dad's son from his previous marriage." Her face drained of color, then flushed with anger. "Your grandparents had no right to tell you that. Actually, they had every right. What didn't anyone have the right to do was lie to me my entire life about my own identity. We were trying to give you a normal family," she insisted. "Your father and I agreed it was better this way. Better for whom? Certainly not for me, growing up, feeling fundamentally unworthy of the love you gave so freely to Nathan. That's not fair. I provided for you, raised you. You housed me and fed me," I interrupted. "That's not the same as loving me. You made it abundantly clear throughout my childhood that Nathan was your priority, your real child. You're exaggerating. All children think their siblings get preferential treatment." This attempt to normalize her behavior ignited something in me. Calmly but firmly, I recounted specific incidents, birthdays, ignored achievements, dismissed the science competition I attended alone, culminating in her choice to vacation rather than attend my wedding. "Do you think this is normal maternal behavior?" I asked. "To deliberately miss your son's wedding for a cruise?" Her defenses shifted to attack. "You've always been difficult. Always so judgmental. Nathan is simply easier to love." The cruelty of this statement hung in the air between us. In the past, such words would have devastated me. Now they merely confirmed what I already understood. Her limitation had never been about my worthiness. "I didn't come here for an apology I know you won't give," I said finally. "I came to tell you that I'm done pretending. I know who I am now. And I know your rejection was never about me. It was about your own inability to see past biology, to love a child who needed you." "What do you want from me?" she asked, her voice smaller. "Nothing anymore. That's the point. I'm releasing both of us from expectations that have never been fulfilled. I'm creating boundaries that protect my well-being going forward. Those boundaries included limited contact, no unsupervised time with any future children we might have, and a requirement for respectful treatment of Madison." Mom listened with thinning lips but didn't argue. "And Nathan," she asked, "will you tell him? That's not my responsibility. Your family secrets aren't mine to reveal or keep anymore." As she left, there was no tearful reconciliation, no dramatic promises of change. Instead, there was something more valuable: clarity, and the first steps toward authentic relationship with myself. The conversation with Dad followed a different pattern. Unlike Mom, he had already begun the work of acknowledging his role in the family dysfunction. Over several meetings, we established a new foundation based on honesty and his commitment to supporting my boundaries with Mom. "I enabled her behavior for too many years," he admitted during one difficult discussion. "I've started seeing a counselor to understand why I allowed it and how to change." This willingness to engage in his own growth process opened the possibility of a healthier relationship between us. While forgiveness wouldn't come immediately, the path toward it became visible. Nathan presented a more complex situation. After consideration, I decided to meet with him privately, not to reveal the family secret, but to address the wedding absence and establish clearer expectations for our adult relationship. "I don't understand why you're so upset about the cruise," he said when I expressed my hurt over the wedding. "Mom said you were fine with it." "Why would I be fine with my mother and brother missing my wedding for a vacation?" I asked. His confused expression suggested he genuinely hadn't questioned Mom's narrative. "She said you planned the wedding when you knew we had conflicts, so you obviously didn't really want us there." This glimpse into Mom's manipulation tactics, pitting us against each other through deliberate misinformation, clarified another aspect of our family dysfunction. Nathan hadn't created the favoritism, though he had benefited from it. He had been shaped by it just as I had, becoming dependent rather than independent, entitled rather than empathetic. "Nathan, I've always wanted a real relationship with you," I told him. but that requires mutual respect and effort from both sides. Whether he could eventually meet that standard remained uncertain, but addressing the patterns directly created the possibility of change. Through therapy, I connected with a support group for adults who had experienced similar family dynamics. Hearing others' stories of navigating complex family revelations provided perspective and practical strategies. I wasn't alone in this experience, though each person's journey toward healing followed its own path. Madison and I began discussing having children conversations now complicated by my family history. What if I don't know how to be a good parent? I worried aloud one night. I've never had a healthy model of mothering. But you've learned what not to do, Madison pointed out. And you have healthy models in my parents and in your own capacity for empathy. You understand the impact of favoritism in a way most never will. 6 months after the revelation, we received surprising news: Madison was pregnant. The joy of impending parenthood mixed with renewed determination to create a different family experience than the one I had known. We decided to limit Mom's involvement with our child, establishing clear boundaries from the beginning. She would be allowed supervised visits, but not the unrestricted access grandparents typically expect. Dad, who had continued his own growth work, would have a more significant role. The first holiday season under these new arrangements tested everyone's commitment to the changed family dynamic. Mom made several attempts to bypass our boundaries, suggesting private outings with the baby and making comments about how she'd do things differently with a grandchild. Each attempt met with calm but unwavering reinforcement of our decisions. This isn't punishment, I explained when she complained. It's protection for our child and for myself. By spring, with Madison's pregnancy progressing and our new family taking shape, I found myself reflecting on the journey from confused child to self-aware adult. The path had been painful but necessary, leading to a place of authenticity I couldn't have imagined growing up. In May, we welcomed our daughter Elise Jean, named partly for my grandmother, who had the courage to break the cycle of secrets. Holding her, I made a silent promise. She would never question her place in our hearts, never wonder if she was loved conditionally, never compare herself to siblings, and find herself wanting. The most profound realization came gradually. Becoming a parent myself helped me finally understand that my mother's inability to love me wasn't about my worthiness, but about her limitations. The knowledge didn't erase the pain of those years, but it placed it in a context that allowed for healing. The truest form of forgiveness, Dr. Abrams had told me, isn't about forgetting or excusing harm. It's about freeing yourself from being controlled by it. I will never forget the pain of being the less favored child, the one whose achievements went uncelebrated, whose wedding day wasn't deemed important enough to attend. But those experiences no longer define me. They are chapters in my story, not the whole book. Creating a family based on equal love and appreciation has become my life's most meaningful work. Breaking the cycle of favoritism ends with me. My daughter and any future children will grow up secure in the knowledge that they are valued completely, not for what they achieve or how convenient their needs are, but simply for who they are. If you've resonated with any part of my story, I hope you'll take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you experienced family favoritism? Or discovered family secrets that changed how you see yourself? How did you navigate those challenging waters? Your story might help someone else feel less alone in their journey. And if this story touched you, please consider subscribing and hitting that like button. Every time you share these stories, it helps others who might be going through similar situations find the support and understanding they need. Thank you for listening to my journey. Remember, the family we create can be healthier than the one we were born into, and understanding our past doesn't mean being defined by it. Wishing you healing and genuine connections in your own life.